The Miami Heat have officially won the first round of the play-in tournament and are now looking to win one more game and clinch themselves as the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. That team that the Miami Heat are going to be facing this Friday are none other than the Atlanta Hawks. But before we get into that matchup, first things first, my name is Manuel Buroz. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls game that just ended last night and my biggest takeaway from that game, as well as obviously what we're looking forward towards Friday's game against the Hawks. Before we do that, let's make sure that we're continuing to subscribe to the Heat Digest community. You guys have done a great job at growing this community, at growing it in ways that we never even could have imagined. And so we can just ask you guys continue to be engaged and continue to interact with us in different ways in that comment section, hitting that subscribe button and all of those things, as well as just continuing to come back and watch these videos. If you're coming back anyways, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can never miss and always be notified for our next videos moving forward. Like I mentioned, the Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, obviously it was a wide victory for the Miami Heat, but to call a spade, it was a Tyler Herro masterclass. Tyler Herro had his best game of the season, I would say. I know he's had some 40 balls. I know he's had some big performances, but this game specifically, not even because he had 38 points, not even because obviously these are his season averages, not even because he was doing such a great job for the team in multiple ways and not just scoring the ball, but he was aggressive. Yesterday, I saw an aggressive Tyler Herro. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the Chicago Bulls are the best defense in the association and this is a very big game for Tyler Herro because of that. No, the Chicago Bulls are one of the worst teams in the association when it comes to defense. No one's taking that away from him. Tyler Herro got like 6 points at the beginning of the game, all layups, uncontested. It was an easy night for him on that end, in my opinion. And once you see a few go on, if you're a scorer like he is, it's going to be a long night for the team. It's like throwing a rock into the ocean. But just seeing Tyler Herro be aggressive and be asserting himself early and then being able to make plays for his teammates and being just a threat. I think in the entire night for Tyler Herro, he did a great job at just being the Batman that we've always thought he could be. And I still feel like he can on some nights. It's maybe not a 1A, maybe a 1B type of player. I don't know. It's still kind of hard. I do think Tyler Herro, if he has a great playoff run this year, I do think this opens a lot of possibilities for the Miami Heat in the offseason and the trades and all the free agency and that kind of stuff. So this is a good step in the right direction. I'm really glad that Tyler Herro had the type of game that he had. But now we're going to move forward now to this next matchup between the Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks this season and the Miami Heat this season, they split the season series. So you can call that a win or a loss for the Heat, however you want to look at it. The biggest thing that I take away from those 4 games, they were all blowouts. Either way. So that's really not a good telling of what these teams could do, what these teams do good against each other, what they don't do good against each other. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not really putting too much into these regular season games. We'll look into it. We're just going to look at the last 3 games that the teams played with against each other and looking at these key matchups. But these are the stats for the Miami Heat, the team for the Miami Heat. And there's a lot of numbers on there. I know you guys can't really, I'm not going to be able to look at all of that stuff. The only number I want you guys to focus on, that very last one right there. At the top is the team's offensive number. They are 24th in the association this year. We talk about points per game. Look at the bottom. That's the defense. That's the defense for the Miami Heat. They're 7th. At the end of the day, I know we're living in a world where offense reigns supreme and you want, the scoring and the shooting and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. At the end of the day, basketball, it's the point of the game is to score the ball more than your opponents. Get more points than your opponents. But now, as their defense is, again, one of the top 10 in the association. Now, I know the offense is going to be struggling on any given night, playoff series, play-in tournament, whatever. My concern will always be the offense. Now, do I think we're going to shoot like we just shot last night? Absolutely not. That's not going to happen again. Not consecutively, not consistently enough. That's what I mean. We cannot bank on the Miami Heat shooting the way they shot, while the other team, in the Bulls' this case, having probably their worst shooting night of the season at the worst time possible. So we can't really bank on that. Now, the defense we can bank on. What they were talking about on the broadcast, what I saw with my own 2 eyes, there were bodies being thrown all over the place for the Miami Heat. There were bodies being in the gaps against the Bulls' drives and contested jump shots, all this kind of stuff. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I believe you can live with that, and you can make a deep playoff run off the defensive side of things. So that's why I'm going to be harping on that. But then you look over at the Chicago Bulls side of things. They're the Atlanta Hawks. They're the complete opposite. The Hawks right now, they're fifth. They were fifth in the association in points per game, but they were 27th in defense. Similar to the Bulls. I really think there's a lot of similarity between the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks. So that's why I really like the Heat in this matchup. And I always said, this play-in tournament, I really like the Heat in this situation because you play against the Bulls team who they thrive off transition. They thrive off getting up a lot of threes. They thrive off of the offensive side of things, feeding their momentum in their game. The Hawks are similar. I mean, we know Trae Young ain't a defensive stopper. He's not, I'm not saying he's a cone or he's horrible on defense, but he's not a defensive guy. He is a walking offense. The shooting that he brings, the pick and roll ability, the ability to play make for his team and turn players like Clint Capella into real threats offensively and be able to spray out to those shooters that are along the corners and the wings. That's the Hawks offense. They had a great year. Zachary Ricochet probably going to be Rookie of the Year. Dyson Daniels, I think, is going to be very, very important for the Heat to try and contain because of his length. And I think he's going to draw the Tyler Herro matchups. Tyler, I think, is going to have a very, very rough night scoring the ball, or at least scoring the ball efficiently. Again, 38 points. Coming off 38 points, I'm a big believer. I know numbers aren't everything, but I do believe the law of averages is something. You had 38 points. I ain't saying you're going to have, less than 10, but you can't bank on having another 38 on that type of efficiency because Tyler was efficient last night. So I think it's going to be a tough night. It's going to be on the Heat to try and get him open while also alleviating some pressure. Tyler here does not have to score 38 points, almost 40 points a night to try. First, if that's our recipe for success, we're going to have a long playoff, or maybe not such a long playoff run. So we got to try and alleviate some stress. I get it. Last night was Tyler Herro's night, no question about it. But let's try and see if we can get some other guys going. I think Bam missed a lot of bunnies, a lot of gimmies. Wiggins had a really, really good night with a 20-point performance. So I think that's going to be, I'm looking at an Andrew Wiggins type of game this Friday. We're talking about leading the team in scoring because I just think Tyler Herro is going to get Dyson Daniels, and Dyson Daniels is such a really, really, really good defender on the perimeter. So I think it's going to be a little bit harder for him to try and get some of those clean looks like he had last night. Now when we look at the Heat, when we look at their last 3 games against the Atlanta Hawks, as you can see that these are the numbers, obviously. Again, it's hard to look into these numbers just because the team split the season series and they were both lopsided, or all 4 games were lopsided victories in the winning team's favor. So I put up the numbers here. I'm not really going to deep dive into them too much. There's nothing really I can take away from it. I think this is going to be more of an individual game than a team perspective because, again, we're talking about 2 teams who are on polar opposites of the spectrum. The Hawks could come into on Friday and have an absolutely amazing shooting night. The Heat could come in on Friday and have a horrible shooting night. That's completely possible. And then vice versa. The Miami Heat could come in and have an offensive night that they had against the Bulls, while the Hawks can't guard anything, including a parked car. So it's going to be hard when we talk about the team. I think it's going to be a matchup-driven game for the Bulls, for the Hawks, and the Heat. With that being said, like I mentioned, we are going to talk a little bit about Tyler Herro and his matchups against the Hawks. Against the Hawks this season, or his career, about 20 games, Tyler Herro is putting up 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I'm looking at the assists specifically for Tyler Herro in this matchup against the Hawks because, again, even though he's averaging about 20 points per game, or just under 20 points per game, I don't know if we can bank on Tyler having an efficient 20. He'll probably still get 20 because, again, he's a professional scorer, but against a defender like Dyson Daniels and so much pressure that you're going to get. And I do think the Hawks have better individual defenders than the Bulls, in my opinion. So I do think it's going to be a lot harder of a night. I'm looking at him to try and get his teammates involved. If he can get north of 5 assists, I'm talking about 5 and above, I think the Heat are going to be in a great position to win that game because now you're looking at maybe, like I said, Andrew Wiggins, maybe a Davion Mitchell, maybe even a Bam Adebayo, who I think, again, he could have had 20 last night, only had 15, did have a double-double still, but I think he left a lot of points out there on the free throw line and on those short jumpers that he likes to shoot. So I do think it could be a bounce-back game for Bam, especially against a young player like Zachary Ricochet. I do think Bam is better than Clint Capella and those kind of players, so I do think this is going to be a Tyler Herro playmaking night for somebody else or the entire team as a whole. Now we look at Tyler Herro's last 3 games, specifically against the Hawks. You see there, the scoring has gone up. So there is a war where Tyler Herro goes out there and has an absolutely dominant Tyler Herro performance. I'm just saying we can't bank on that because I do believe he will get so much attention from the Hawks defense. 36 points. If he gets that, hey, it ain't the craziest thing in the world, but you see there, 17 free throws is a big part of it, or 17 free throw attempts is a big part of that. I think if we can get, you see those numbers, 3 assists, 10 assists, 4 assists. If he can get 5 assists a game, and in this game, I do believe the Hawks will have a long, long night trying to guard Tyler because now you got to worry about him as a playmaker and as a scorer, and that's going to open up a lot more pull-ups, a lot more one-on-one matchups, a lot more layups, probably a lot more easy buckets for him than trying the long threes, the step backs, and all this stuff. We're trying to make Tyler Herro's life as easy as possible. We know he's a tough shot maker, but that don't mean he's got to live off tough shots all night. Now, obviously, you can't talk about the Hawks without talking about none other than Mr. Trae Young. Trae Young, in his career, 23 games against the Heat, he's putting up 21, 9, and 3. I've always believed deep range shooter. You got to pick one or the other. Me personally, and when we talk about my X factor, you'll see who it kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm about to say. With a player like Trae Young, I've always been on the side of let him get his numbers. Don't let everybody else score. Don't let him be a playmaker and a scorer. And don't even let him be a playmaker. Just I would say performances for himself. Especially, we all talk about the Knicks series. We all talk about that ECF run that he had. He's had some great moments in the postseason, like going to score, and you ain't going to outscore a team by yourself. You need to have players around you, teammates around you. So that's why I think if the Heat go into Friday and say, Trae, you're going to get your numbers. You're going to get your 20, you're going to get your 25, but you ain't going to get 10 assists. You ain't going to get 11 assists. Because now you're talking about him being responsible. 20. That's how it's hard to beat the Hawks. You got to, I think, get that ball out of his hands early. Trap off these ball screens, handoffs, DHOs, all that kind of stuff. Make him have to give the ball up early and make somebody else beat you. If I lose by a rookie, hey, you can't take away everything. And tonight we banked on the rookie not having a good night, and he had a good night. If Dyson Daniels goes out and have a career night, again, you can't stop everything when we talk about the defense. You just want to take away the main things that the other team wants to do. And what do they want to do? Pick and roll with Trae Young, high pick and roll with Trae Young. Try and let him get downhill. Try and let him make a play. Try and let him be a playmaker or a scorer, whatever he wants to do that night. Make Trae Young's life miserable. That should be the goal this Friday for the Miami Heat. So then you look at Trae Young in these last 3 games for the cannot let him have 14 assists and 11 points. You can't let him have 12 assists and 29 points because he's responsible for even 8 assists. I think that's too much. If Trae Young, I mentioned Tyler Herro, if he has above 5, I think talking about a pretty decent, because now that tells me that he was not, maybe he might have the one more hockey assist, all that kind of stuff, but if he's not the one directly involved in the scoring opportunity, either making the assist or scoring the bucket, I think that takes the Hawks out of what they want to do, which is have him be the focal point in everything they do offensively. And like I mentioned, I'm not saying Trae Young's a horrible defender, but we all know he's not a defender. Go at him. Put him in ball screen action. Put him in off-ball action. Get him in downhill drive. Offense. I'm a firm believer, again, on offense, if I got a playmaker and a scorer who can do both of those things, make him into a scorer. Make him into a scorer. Make him have to beat me by himself. Don't let him beat me with his teammates. And on defense, I'm putting you in every single action. Maybe you're not the one guarding the ball, but you're going to have to run through all these off-ball screens. You're going to have to chase Tyler Herro around the court. You're going to have to chase Duncan Robinson around the court. You're going to have to bang with Bam off these screens. All of that stuff. Wear him down by the fourth quarter. He shoots those deep balls. They're going to be short. They might be long. They might not be easier shots than what he's used to shooting. That's how I think the Heat should try and attack Trae Young and the Trae Young matchup this Friday night. So that's my quick take on the Heat-Hawks matchup. Again, Trae Young is obviously the focus for the Hawks. Take him away. Make him into a scorer, not a scorer, and playmaker or not a playmaker. Take the playmaking game away. Guard, make him put Tyler Herro in ball screen action if he's guarding Tyler Herro. Whoever he's guarding, whoever offense, put them in a ball screen action. Even if it's a guard screen, or you're setting a screen for Bam, whatever it is, put Trae Young involved in all these actions, so that way he has to guard consistently throughout the game. And again, offense, but a great defense, I'm taking the great defense every single time. Every single time. Because at the end of the day, defense travels. And the Heat have proven that by being the road team against the Bulls. Now they're going to be the road team again against the Hawks. We've proven we can win in Atlanta, so that's my biggest thing. Now, specifically with X factors. Last game, I thought it would be Khalil Ware. And again, didn't see a Tyler Herro masterclass happening, but I thought Khalil Ware could be X factor for the Heat. He did have a good game, in my opinion, for sure. For me now, the X factor goes a little bit off the Trae Young. Davion Mitchell. That is who my X factor is for this game coming up against the Hawks. Now, it's not for the offense. Now, Davion Mitchell has had a very, very good resurgence in his career, in my opinion. I truly believe the Miami Heat were the perfect situation for him. Last game against the Bulls, the Miami Heat, dealing with Josh Giddey, who had one of his best games of the season against us, and multiple times, actually. They put Bam at a bye. But in that case, it's easier for Bam and not so much of a mismatch because Giddey's not really handling the ball like that. He's that kind of stuff. I do not think Bam can guard Trae Young for a full 40 minutes. Switches, that kind of stuff, I get that. A possession here, a possession there, I'm all cool with that. But for 40 minutes, I don't know if he can do that. That's where the Davion Mitchell thing comes into effect. I don't know if you guys saw the clip or if you're watching the game last night, but he guarded Kobe White about as perfectly as you could guard and forced a shot clock violation. I think I even got a block to force a shot clock violation. Davion Mitchell's nickname is Off Night for a reason. I think if you put Davion Mitchell on Trae Young, that goes into what I mentioned about wearing him down. Now, yes, I'm not going to sit here and think that Trae Young is not going to, have his way. Again, Trae Young is a professional scorer as well. He can score the ball with the best of them. He's a 3-level scorer. He's got the float game. He's got the pull-up. He's got the 3-ball. But if he scores 20 to 25, but he had to shoot 20 shots to get there, 25 shots to get there, that's a good night for me. If I'm the defender, I'm thinking I won that matchup because you're not going to stop Trae Young. Trae Young is, again, he's one of the best players in the association. You can't go into this matchup thinking, how are we going to hold him to 0 points? Because if you do that, he's going to give you 50. Because you can't do that. You can't have that mindset. It's about making him work. And Davion Mitchell will make him work for 40 minutes. He'll pick him up 40 feet. He'll pick him up 94 feet, He'll go at him on defense. He'll go at him on offense. He'll move and make him have to make moves, push him over these screens. He will be physical and wear him down. I think Davion Mitchell is going to be very, very important. Now, we look at the numbers between Trae Young and Davion Mitchell. It's a little bit interesting. It's very interesting because you look at it. So these are Trae Young's numbers against these are actually Davion Mitchell's numbers against the Hawks. So you see there at the bottom, since he joined the Heat, things have been a little bit different for Davion Mitchell. And as a matter of fact, these actually are Trae Young's numbers against Davion Mitchell. So you see there 17, 35, 21, 24, 18, 16, 11, and 17, and 29. Again, Trae Young, he's going to get his numbers. Now, you notice there aren't necessarily great numbers scoring-wise. A majority of those numbers, aside from, 4 games, he's been under 20 points. That's a lot. You look at the assists. Yes, he might have a 12, 18, a 12, a 8, a 14, 13, 10. But you also see down there 4, 6, 7. If he can hang around those numbers, that's what I'm looking at. And again, look at all the attempts. Yes, Trae Young shooting 42% against Davion Mitchell, but shooting 21 shots, 12 shots, 14. Those are the numbers that I'm looking at when I'm talking about how did this matchup favor Mitchell or Trae Young. Now, when we look at specifically Davion Mitchell's numbers against the Hawks this season, those first 3 games were with Sacramento, and those last 2 games are with the Heat. You notice a difference in those games. 20 and 16, respectively. 6 assists in each game. He's shooting the ball very well. That's why I mentioned this is a resurgence type of thing for Davion Mitchell. So I truly believe this matchup is a matchup to watch. Davion Mitchell versus Trae Young is going to be something that can favor the Miami Heat this Friday night when we talk about winning that game and clinching a spot in the postseason. Things are going to get very interesting for this matchup because I just believe this favors Davion Mitchell very, very much. Now, when we look at Davion Mitchell, again, when we talk about against the Hawks this season, 10 points, 5 assists, a rebound a game. That's what I'm looking at. I don't need Davion Mitchell to go out there and give me a 20-point performance. If he does, which we saw he can do against the Hawks, that's great. Cool. I need you. Give me 10 to 12. Give me a good amount of assists a good amount of assists, take care of the ball, and make Trae Young work. That's all I care about when we talk about this matchup. Something else, and I kind of wrap it up with this on why I think this is a very good X factor situation for Davion Mitchell in this game. We look back at those numbers. Again, these are Trae Young's numbers. People can look at the scoring, the shooting, all that kind of stuff. You know what I look at? I'm going to look at the fact that Trae Young has averaged 20 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds in 9 games against Davion Mitchell. But what this doesn't show you is these are his turnovers and his plus minus. Again, I'm not saying this is the end all be all. I understand that. This takes a lot of consideration. It's a very generic thing. I understand that. But we can't overlook. Look at how many net minuses Trae Young has against Davion Mitchell. Look at the turnovers. 4, 4, 5, 4, 3, 11 turnovers. No, he's averaging almost 5 turnovers a game against Davion Mitchell is Trae Young. And he's averaging minus 3.6 plus minus. What that means is when Trae Young is on the court, the Hawks are on average about 4 points less. They're putting up 4 points less than they normally do. They are losing that time on the court. And Trae Young's on the court almost the entire game. So that's why I mean, if Davion Mitchell can wear down Trae Young by the end of the game, we could be making it a situation where maybe the Hawks shouldn't be playing Trae Young. But at the same time, they're going to. That's what you want to put. You want to put the Hawks in a situation where it feels like Trae Young is a minus on the court, but you have no other choice but to play him. Look at all those games. It's been a pretty equal thing. Yes, he'll have a plus 26, but then he got a minus 28. Those are the kind of games that I think Davion Mitchell can make Trae Young have this Friday night. That's going to do it on this episode for Heat Digest. Let me know. Am I wrong? Is Davion Mitchell not the X factor? Is it somebody else? Is it just another Tyler Herro game? Tyler, go out and score another 40 points. Let me know down below who you think the X factor is for this matchup against the Hawks this Friday night. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of Heat Digest.